So, hearing all that, Jeremy Dunmeyer, I apologize.
Dummeyer.
Yeah, no end.
Dunmeyer, we'll get it right. I know him Jeremy, so.
Well, good morning. Jeremy Dummeyer, Curry County Emergency Services. I just wanted to come by and announce that Coos Forest Protective Association, who's responsible for the wildland protection here in Curry County, has announced that fire season will start on the 8th of this week. That means that all outdoor burning is prohibited, and the fire restrictions will go into effect immediately on the 8th.
Okay.
If you live inside of city limits, you will want to talk to your fire departments, Gold Beach, Brookings, or Port Orford, as they may or may not have different restrictions.
Okay, so
Madam
that's
Chair.
for the unincorporated areas,
Correct.
correct? Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I may, just a couple sentences. You and I talked this morning, Hood River. They're not referencing the Eagle Creek fire, but I think that's where it is. But last summer's wildfire, the scenic Columbia River Gorge, U.S. Forest Service spokesman says a glow from the small hotspot was reported Tuesday about a half a mile from Herman Creek trailhead. It was found smoldering in heavy down timber, so it made it all winter long. So, and that wasn't near the size fire Jetco Bar, but thank you very much for that reminder.
Okay, David Barnes?
Good morning, I'm David Barnes. I was going to say things, but I've decided against it. I read a letter in the paper last week composed by Commissioner Huxley, and I just, you know, if we're going to talk about being right with the facts and getting facts straight, I didn't criticize this board for taking a $10,000 salary. I criticized this board for changing our form of government and making yourselves into part-timers. I criticized you for doing nothing to increase revenue. I criticized you for piddling away money like sailors on shore leave. I've criticized you for other things, but I did not criticize and flog this panel for taking a $10,000 salary. Commissioner Huxley, if you're going to cite me in a letter that you write, please, sir, would you please look at me when I'm speaking to you? The rules of decorum state that you listen to members of the public as they speak, and it's awfully disrespectful for you to be doing something else while I'm speaking, sir.
Actually, the rules of decorum do not require anybody to look at you while you're speaking.
The rules of decorum, I have them right here in front of me, ma'am. Say, rule number 4 is that you will listen to citizens as they offer comment. Commissioner Huxley doing something else up there is not doing that. It's disrespectful to me as a member of the public, and I just, you know, I come here and I'm tired of being disrespected by him. You know, you're a public servant, sir. You're supposed to serve the public. I am a member of the public. Your disdain for us is apparent, but these are rules that you put into place. I'd like you to please go by them.
Okay, thank you. Carol Simus? I hope I said your name right.
Yes, you did.
Okay, thank you.
Carol Simus, League of Women Voter Observer for the Board of Commissioner General Meetings. You may or may not have noticed me sitting through many of your general meetings, my job being to report back to our board on our local governance. I probably wouldn't use the term enjoy, but I have certainly appreciated the opportunity to witness and learn a bit about our local government in action. This is my last day in this position, so I would like to take this 3-minute public comment slot to speak as Carol Simus, private citizen, on some of my own personal observations. First, I want to compliment the 3 of you and your willingness to step up to a public service position. Although your policies may not align with mine, I admire those willing to confront the slings and arrows of a diverse constituency. Often we have passions for certain agendas that meet the slow, methodical tedium of governance, and this can be frustrating. As President Eisenhower said, campaigning requires attack and comparison. Governing requires deliberation, cooperation, and negotiation. I think each of you brings strengths to this board. it is important to wade through the minutia of details, as mind-numbing as that is. It is important to have the skill set to listen and be able to summarize what has been presented in discussions so decisions can be made. And there is value in thinking outside the box and being constantly gracious to staff and the public. Your strengths working together make for a strong board. I have always, well, maybe not today, witnessed the board's civility to the public. However, I can't say I have witnessed consistent civility between the three of you. I have no solution for you. Maybe more patience, more empathy, a more earnest effort to follow the rules of decorum. I'm sure my own ability to not get my dander up would be challenged with your job. Besides observing the three of you, I have so enjoyed learning from the various county staff, speak to issues, or present information. County Council's clarifications have been invaluable to me. John Jesuit patiently answered all of my inquiries, and I have been impressed with all the staff who have approached the lectern with their integrity and depth of knowledge. They are a real treasure to this county. Anyway, usually it's pretty easy being just an observer. You're not required to weigh in on issues or make decisions. But I felt compelled to critique my time here, and I appreciate the opportunity to do so during these public comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a million.
Okay, we've got two items that were taken out of the consent calendar. First, the jail video system. This is just for discussion.
Madam Chair, normally you would do the things that are left on the consent agenda and approve those, and
Oh.
then add these after that.
Add them after?
They become a part of the regular agenda.
Okay, no problem. So, I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended with the items C and E taken out.
So it's A, B, and C. A, B, and D, excuse me.
Yeah,
Yes,
that
I'll
would be
move.
items A, B, and D.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the
motion.
Any discussion?
Usually you don't discuss consent. That's why they're consent.
Boy, am I.
The parliamentarians are here now.
Good, that's great. Okay, so call for the question.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're going to talk about the items that were taken out of the consent calendar. Jail video system, first of all.
Yes,
there's some concerns.
well, the concern is with the dollar amount. We approved at the last meeting, knowing that where the funds were going to come from for a video system for law enforcement. We approved $92,000 and change for that, and that it would be followed with a document transferring funds or an appropriation fund transfer. The appropriation fund transfer is for $113,000, which I assume is the amount that either in that fund now, which was not budgeted in the original budget last year, or it's what the estimated amount is. So I don't understand the additional $20,000.
Louise Kallstrom, County Accountant. The 113 is recognizing the amount of revenue we should be getting by the end of the year. And the 113 capital outlay, the video system itself is $92,000, but it does not include putting in the wiring, and it could include some contingencies such as asbestos abatement or any other such thing they find when they put the system in. Council Huddle?
Thank you. The contract we approved in that amount had a line item
Correct.
saying that wire pulls would be done by staff. So I think this is anticipating some of the wire pull staff work and the transfers to the building, facilities maintenance.
Correct. I'm looking at that
Yep.
that page. So is that estimated to be approximately $20,000?
It is not estimated to any I did not estimate how much the wire pull would be. I did not know it would be staff or if they were going to hire somebody to do it.
Right, it may be a combo, but
So I don't have an estimate on that, but I did add into this project the amount of the revenue. Now, if the project comes in under, then that revenue is in the general fund and will be part of carryover if we don't spend it all on this project.
I see the sheriff is in here. Do we have an estimate of what that amount is at this point in time? I would think we would.
For the wire pulls, since
Do you want to identify yourself, Joe?
Sorry, Sergeant Joel Hensley, jail commander. On the wire pull, since we already paid for half of Tad's salary, it's within what he can do legally. He can pull those wires up and through. It's not being terminated or anything. That'll be the electrician, which is part of the quote for those to be terminated and checked. It's just crawling around essentially the top of our attic and pulling wires. Talk to Tad, talk to maintenance, and it's authorized to be done. So it'll do that end of it. The reason why the budget was done like that for any contingency, I actually have Ironclad coming by today, so we can go buy and double check the quote to make sure everything is included, every camera is accounted for, and every system is going to be in place for a fully functional system. But whenever the supplemental budget due to the end of this fiscal year, that's the reason why we talked to Finance Director Colstrom and decided to put down that number because that is the amount of money we are going to receive from Coos County IGA at the end of this year, fiscal year, sorry.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the jail video system?
I'll move, Madam Chair.
Is there a second?
Well, second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I think that's been clarified, and that what's not used will be transferred as it should be into the general fund.
Yes, that's my
And
understanding.
this is going to be complete, but am I correct that this contract was going to be done began this year, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's in this budget year. Do we have an estimate of what their estimated time of completion is? Or?
It's whenever we can get all the lines pulled and everything in place so they can come. Because being in a jail, we can't like just shut down our surveillance system for a day and hope that nobody shoplifts. So we got to make sure we get each camera done. So it's a team that comes down, and it's going to be very quick, very fast. So that's where the scheduling comes in to make sure that we're all good. I'm sure they'll come and make sure all our Cat 5 and Cat 6 cable is functional, to make sure we don't have to have any people waiting around wasting time.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion? Call for the question.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, second thing that was pulled was public educational government access. So I'm not...
Yeah, I asked that be pulled too, because these numbers have been, I guess, all over the place. I thought originally we had budgeted, but it went on and I think changed and evolved. It was somewhere between 13 and 15,000. So what did we approve in the budget process? 13,000. And why, if we did, why the extra 2,000?
Louise Colstrom, County Accountant. So this is, we approved in the proposed budget for next year, 13,000. Last year we approved 13,000. The contract for the Curry County Voices equipment was for 14,778. So I believe that it was I don't know what the communication on buying the equipment was, but it was for up to 15,000. However, the budget has 13,000 in it. So I'm amending the budget to cover the cost of this equipment, the $2,000, so that the budget is 15,000.
So how much did the board originally, I don't remember exactly, how much did this board originally approve?
The budget was at 13,000,
Yeah.
but then the proposal to have Curry Community Voices came in with a equipment list that came in at 14.7 or so. So our agreement with them was to do up to 15,000 of equipment, and we have the money, we have the PEG money, it just wasn't allocated, and so this is to match the amount and cover the amount in the contract.
But we approved, the board approved up to 15,000?
Correct.
Right,
I
we
thought
did.
originally 13, that's the reason I'm...
Yeah, and Louise is, I think she's actually looking at the exhibit from the contract that shows the list of equipment coming in at 14,700 or so.
Okay.
So the contract then said 15,000. And so therefore this is just to meet and allocate money to meet the obligation under the contract. And I think the contract looked at the funds available versus the allocated budget funds. So they looked at the account balance in the PEG fund.
Then anything not used will go back to the dedicated...
Has to go to the dedicated.
It is
PEG fund.
an individual fund, so if, we've already got the bills for the 14,778, so that much will be spent. And then the carryover will be
So
the carryover
remain
less.
in the dedicated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion on this issue? Can we get a motion to approve the public educational government PEG access?
I'll move to approve as
Second.
presented in item, what was 4E, that amount of an extra $2,000.
Do you have a second?
Second, Madam Chair.
Any further discussion? Call for the question?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Okay, we've got minutes next. There was a workshop March 29th, 2017. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes for that March 29th workshop?
Chair, I'll move to approve the minutes for the March 29th, 2017 workshop.
Do we have a second? I will second that. Any discussion? Call for the question?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Okay, next minutes are Curry County Public Transit Service District, meeting of May 2nd, 2018. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Do we have a
I'll
second?
second.
Any further discussion? Call for the question?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next, administrative actions and appointments. Who's going to be talking about that?
There's none.
There is none. Okay.
We can kill 5 minutes.
This is going to be an amazing meeting. Old business. Planning Commission appointments. And Carolyn Johnson, I don't see her here. But bottom line, we have some applications for Planning Commission. We've got, the board approved having a 7-member board last meeting. And 2 of the board members are to come from the south, 2 from Gold Beach, and 2 from Port Orford. And so there are 2 applicants from the south that are here. I know Ted Freeman, and my guess is you're Miss... Right. How did I guess? I knew everybody else here. So anyway, those are 2 from the south. And then we have a Kevin McHugh. I don't believe he was able to be here, from the north. And our job today is to pick 2 of these applicants, one of which will be from the south, that's definitely, and one who will be like a roving person. So, and that person will be a 2-year position, and the other position will be a 4-year position. So I'm going to let Becky Crockett speak to that. All of you got her application, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to do this.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here today. My name is Becky Crockett. I am a timber and agriculture owner and producer in southern Curry County. I've had an extensive career up in Portland for the past 25 years, although I was born and raised in southern Curry County. My family's been down there for over 100 years. I'm here today, and the reason I applied for this position is I have a strong belief in the need to serve the community in whatever capacity I have the ability to do so. I do have a background that has extensive experience in land use planning and in environmental issues, and I am connected very closely with the ag community and timber community in southern Curry County. For those reasons, it seems appropriate to lend my expertise as it's desired to help on some of the issues that are facing Curry County. It's been a stark reality moving back to Curry County 3 years ago, as I did, in terms of the lack of infrastructure, the lack of good access to markets, and the lack of health care. There's a lot of issues that Curry County is facing. Housing is a huge issue. It's difficult for me to get people, young people, to come to Curry County to work. There aren't opportunities. I have 2 sons, both in their 20s, and there really is not anything here for them to do as far as a career. So economic development is really big on my list of issues to facilitate opportunities that come before the Planning Commission or the board that would inspire people to get more involved to stimulate economic development in Curry County. Opportunities for housing, as I mentioned, that's a fundamental need that is a deterrent for people moving here and wanting to participate in economic opportunities. For the agriculture and resource industry, there's a myriad of issues, and a lot of them you've faced effectively, but the one that faces us in agriculture most prominently is the lack of federal agencies coming for assistance. People do not want to come to southern Curry County. The ag offices that would assist farmers and private forest owners are in Roseburg, they're in Coquille. I just had discussion last week with Senator Merkley about this problem, and he agreed that the resources just don't make their way all the way to southern Curry County for whatever reason. He was concerned about that and has decided to take that on as an issue to try to get us more resources, but there's just a lot of issues that I think the private sector has a responsibility to bring forward to the public sector who is in the position to help do something about it. Just a side note, I've been in Curry County since I had a career in Portland for about the past 3 years. In those 3 years, I've decided to grow wasabi, and it just happens that now I am the largest wasabi grower in the United States. It's a difficult crop to grow, and for some reason it really thrives in southern Curry County near the coast. So I'm going to leave you with just a little package of what I sell. My product goes out internationally. It's sold throughout the United States. Locally, I guess the closest local place you can buy this is at Cartwright's in Grants Pass in Bedford.
I really got to slow this roll down a little bit. It's not a forum for you to promote your business.
No, it's very much related to the issue of economic development and market access from southern Curry County. And as I was getting to, okay, is having the experience in setting up a business and trying to get product out of southern Curry County, I can tell you it is difficult and it is expensive. Federal Express, UPS, the U.S. Postal Service, any transport of product from southern Curry County will cost a business more. And it costs a business more to bring goods and services into Curry County to help facilitate business development. So I apologize if I've crossed the line,
well,
but
it seemed like it was going that direction.
Yeah, well, it's
where your product's available, what you do, all that stuff.
Like,
I'm sorry, I know. Here's a sample.
Here,
He's just getting hungry, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, I meant no disrespect. I'm just trying to keep us on track. I apologize.
So I think I've said everything I need to say.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Ms. Crockett. Yeah.
Sorry if I crossed the line.
Any questions of Ms. Crockett?
Well,
Commissioner Boyce?
thank you, Madam Chair. I had questions, but you answered them all. And very much appreciated your resume, your willingness, of course, to serve. Welcome back. And I wondered, of course, when I saw your last name, if that was part of the original family, which is a great part of our heritage here. And thank you very much.
So
Question
to
from
the
Commissioner
family
Boyle?
history, what was your relation to then Carol Crockett?
Carol Crockett is my aunt, was my aunt. She
Oh,
passed
yeah,
away a couple
okay.
years ago.
Okay, quite a piano.
Yes, yes indeed.
Okay, any other questions? Ted Freeman, next.
My name is Ted Freeman. I've been on the Planning Commission for 4 years for the county. I was 17 years on the Planning Commission for the city of Brookings. I too have been here quite a long time, probably over 100 years. And I don't know, I didn't think about this, but Carol is also my aunt. Yeah.
Well, can we have
Me
that kind
too.
of relationship on the board? I don't know.
It's by marriage.
Yeah.
I graduated from Brookings Harbor High School, went to Southern Oregon, graduated biology degree. I've been involved with quite a few city activities, and I had a business which I sold, which I have dealt considerably with the planning commissions and the government, so I'm pretty versed at what goes on, and my goal probably most is to help Curry County grow in a controlled manner, but grow. And is there any questions?
Well, I've worked with Ted for, what, 8 years? 8 years, I guess.
Bring it on.
On the
It
Port
does-
Commissioner, or Port
Oh, yeah.
Commission, and he was very easy to work with. I like Ted, so. Any other questions? Yes.
Just
Commissioner
quick
Ward.
comment. Ted has a lot of friends, and he's a good friend of mine, but I think it's safe to say we do not have a conflict of interest here in presumably supporting him.
Oh. No, I don't
Usually,
think so.
usually conflicts of interest are determined by
Some
financial
yes.
Monetary
interests,
gain.
and I haven't heard any of that.
I'm
Madam
just
Chair,
hoping
if
to
you-
get some extra rock for my, oh, you're out of the business, though.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
Later.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Madam
Okay.
Chair, if you want to make this selection today.
Well, we've got Kevin McCune also. He came to us at one time and spoke. We've got his application. So when I talked to Carolyn Johnson, she said we could either appoint someone today or we could wait until he has a chance to come. Personally, I think we've heard from Kevin McCune. It's Kevin, right?
And it's McHugh without an N.
McHugh, excuse me. Okay, so I just as soon appoint someone today or 2 people today.
So, Madam Chair, we have Gold Beach or Central County and North County well represented. So, based on your interest in getting it done today, likewise here. So, I would like to make a motion to appoint Ted Freeman as the at-large Planning Commission member and Becky Crockett as the second South County representative, which gives us the 7 under the new zoning ordinance requirement.
Okay, so in other words, so everybody's clear, Becky would be the 4-year term and Ted would be the 2-year term, the at-large.
And I'm assuming that that's okay with both of them, so.
Is that okay with both
included
of
in that
you?
motion.
That's fine.
Okay, I think both are very well qualified, in my opinion. So, do we have a second to that motion?
For discussion, I'll second it.
Okay, further discussion.
I would like, I agree that both are well qualified. I think for vetting, because I would say Mr. Freeman's been more vetted than Ms. Crockett, for these positions just because of where he's served over the past years in the area. I would be amenable to reversing that and having Mr. Freeman be the 4-year from South County.
Mm-hmm.
And Ms. Crockett, the roaming or whatever, the 2-year term.
At large.
At large, primarily for that reason.
So is that a suggested friendly amendment to the
That would be,
motion?
that's
And
my
then
comments
okay.
for an amendment, if that's amenable to the commissioners.
Madam Chair, could we bring, excuse me, go
No, go ahead.
Could we bring Ms. Crockett back up to the podium with both of you there?
Can we just have you guys duke it out or
We're
something?
going to be working together anyway. Does anybody have a quarter?
Oh, coin toss, sure, draw straws,
Because I don't mind amending the agenda, I don't
but the
see.
motion, yeah.
Excuse me.
Do either of you have
The
strong
motion.
feelings one way or the other?
I do not.
Okay. I think whatever works for the county is best. I think both of you would work very well for the county, so, yes.
Just, I've had a chance to staff the planning commission, and as a staff, I kind of also think that Mr. Freeman has some experience there, and that having him then have the 4-year term, and then with Ms. Crockett easing her way into the commission by a 2-year term,
Okay.
and maybe in 2 or 4 years, Ted will be ready to step down or something. Anyway, I'm sorry.
You know, he is
Yeah,
getting up there.
but
in age,
but unless
but,
again neither of them have strong feelings. I just see a slight ease of administration and some value in the tenure of Mr. Freeman, just for that reason. And if he wasn't interested in transitioning out by going to the 2-year, that's just a very slight staff recommendation in that to support the change of the amendment and the order as proposed.
Okay. So
And I don't
are
know if you want to hear.
wanting
Carolyn Johnson is here too. I don't know if you want to hear from her.
Did you want to chime in on that, Carolyn?
Can I go sit down?
Yes.
Sure. You can go sit.
Go to your room.
Carolyn Johnson, Community Development Director. Yeah, I think whatever the board as a group is comfortable with. I think Mr. Freeman has been at it for a while, and it wouldn't, I think it'd be fine either way you go. Very hardworking individual, and after looking at your resume, it's very clear that you are as well, so.
Okay, so Commissioner Boyce?
Thank you again. I'm going to leave my motion the way it is. I'm differ with County Council in that Ms. Crockett, if you're there for 2 years, you'll really be able to kind of know your footing, and so I think we should just leave my motion as is, Madam
Okay,
Chair.
so you want your motion to state that
Sure.
Ms. Crockett will be 4 years and Mr. Freeman 2 years?
You have that correct. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Do we have a second to that motion?
I thought there was second for discussion, and then
Yeah, there was. Okay, so let's call for the question.
Okay, so what's the motion?
Okay, the motion
original
is
motion as made.
Ms. Crockett will be 4 years and Ted Freeman will be 2 years. So, we have a motion and a second. Let's call for the question.
Aye.
No?
Aye. Okay, so, motion carries, but I think we're all happy with either way, to be honest.
And much appreciative.
And thank you so much for offering to provide your services for free. It's tough.
I think you have to pay. But, yeah.
Okay, so moving on in the agenda. Where did the agenda go? Gosh, I lost it. Okay, so next we have announcements. North Bend City / Coos Curry Housing Authorities. There's 2 vacancies. Their term is expiring January 3rd and April 29th, respectively. June 13th will be a workshop in the Commissioners' Hearing Room at 10 a.m. June 20th, Commissioners' Hearing Room will be a general meeting, and at 11:30 a.m. will be the public hearing for the Lucas Lane property. 1:30 we'll talk about fees, and I would assume increases. That would be for Curry, for the county, and also Curry Transfer and Recycling. June 27th, and that's a public hearing. June 27th is possible end of the 2017-18 fiscal year meeting. July 4th, county offices will be closed. July 18th, general meeting at 10 a.m., Commissioners' Hearing Room. July 25th through 28th is the Curry County Fair. Commissioner Huxley.
So go back, if you would, to for further clarification on 10B, the June 13th, I think this is evolving or has evolved already to some degree.
We have one topic, which is the federal grants administration policy, and Louise Kallstrom will be giving a presentation on that. And there was another possible topic, and I'll let Clark Schroeder talk to that if he's made any headway on that or not. I don't know.
Yeah, so on the 13th, the Brookings Port Authority, as you well know, that we need to appoint 2 people as their statutory responsibility over that. The financial manager has talked to me. She would like to have a 15-minute meeting on the 13th before our workshop to appoint 2 individuals. I'm going to schedule that meeting. We need to certify the election. The last day for the certification would be on the 12th, provided the clerk has certified that. I will post that tomorrow or the next day. I'll forward the information for the people who have applied to the commission, and hopefully we can have a short meeting to apply this, because they, as other government bodies in Oregon, they need to adopt their budget by the end of the year. If we wait till the 20th to appoint people, they're going to have a quandary if something doesn't go right.
That's
there
true.
might happen with the group. So I would like to get that scheduled, and I'll put on the schedule. If I have to revoke it due to the non-certification of the election, that will happen. But I'll get that information out as soon as I can.
Okay. Commissioner Huffman?
So question then, we're going to tentatively plan on a special meeting. It can't be a workshop, a special meeting.
From 10 to 10:15.
Okay, and then there may be also, we've discussed, but we're confirming that we may piggyback another workshop subject on the workshop with Curry Community Health possibly after the workshop on the federal grants that we talked about yesterday, correct?
I think so.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
yes.
okay. So we're going to have, what I'm getting at is we're going to have 2 different meetings then. We're going to have a special meeting,
Yes.
which we can make a decision. Then we're going to have a workshop, which is for discussion only.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
It is microphone clipped.
I don't know, he dropped his
Oh, I
glasses.
dropped my, I was trying to get out from underneath you guys.
You running already?
So the items on the workshop, we'll have that posted by the end of the week.
Okay.
To make sure that you have time to study what we're going to discuss.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
here comes Charles.
Next, we have an oral report from our new administrator, Clark Schroeder.
Thank you. I want to say I feel very welcome and welcomed here. The staff did a nice breakfast for me on Monday, and I really appreciate that. I'm spending my time taking in the tours of the different departments and getting to know the staff, finding out where their needs are, how I can help them, and how I can be the intermediary between the staff and the commission. The one thing I would like the general public also to review, on the webpage under the administrators tab, the county administrators tab, I have posted my contact information, but in addition, I have posted the ordinance that was passed by the commission, and that's the authority that's granted me to run the county. And I want to make sure as we go through, these months coming forward, as people see what I do, I'll be fulfilling that role per that ordinance, and I'll be interacting with the commission per that ordinance also. And I want to make sure the public is aware of that. I have an item on the next agenda item I'll speak to momentarily, but I just wanted to say thank you, and thank you for hiring me,
Okay.
and I'll do a good job for you.
Okay, thank you for coming, and we appreciate your accepting the position. Okay, next we have union negotiations. This is Teamsters Local 206 Road Department. Mr. Schroeder, do you have?
Yeah, so we basically, there was a vote by the road department to organize, and we've received a letter which is in the packet on page 41 of the packet, if you're following along. They request a meeting to start negotiating this contract. This will be a brand new contract. We also have another Teamsters union within the county, but that negotiation is being handled by Mr. Bruce Bischoff, and he basically it's just fine-tuning a current contract which you already have.
Right.
Okay, so what I'll be looking for They have some meeting dates where we'll be having to meet. I guess what I'd be looking for direction from the commission is, do you want staff, be that me or Huddle or other people within the staff, to start this negotiation with Teamsters 206, or would you like to get an estimate and figure out if we want to outsource that to Mr. Bischoff or another organization or another individual to do that? Just to let you know, when you're starting from scratch, it is not as easy as just cutting and pasting your contract from another organization and dropping it in. They tend to debate each and every issue, and there's a lot of time that goes back and forth, and normally it takes months to do the project.
Have you been involved in any negotiations like this before?
Just slight negotiations, never have started one from scratch.
Okay. Mr. Boyce?
My preference, certainly, Madam Chair, is to have Administrator Schroeder involved from the very beginning, to the extent time will allow with the load you are currently under and going to be under.
Okay. Commissioner Huxley?
You know, to a degree, defer this to County Council, but I think at this point, on the other two collective bargaining agreements that are in process, Bruce Bischoff is the primary, and that County Council is interfacing with him. I think, not that Clark couldn't also be involved, but I think with especially what was just commented on as far as the experience in doing one from scratch, I think when we did start and pulled in Bischoff, he was one that had more experience than anyone else, or as I would gather it from County Council and him in Oregon. So I think it would make sense for him to chime in on this also, especially at the start, when you start from scratch.
Well, certainly get some information from him and maybe some advice from him, I think would be helpful.
Okay.
Commissioner Boyce?
Just concerned about the cost of having, to the extent that he's involved. If we have people on staff that can adequately do the job and prepare, just bringing in, you just said maybe one of the most experienced people in Oregon, if I understood you right, Commissioner Huxley. So just bringing in a person like that sometimes draws a line in the sand right off. So that's one of the main reasons I would want the two of you involved. And it'd be a good experience if you stick around. Mm-hmm. You might need it more down the road, and it could be helpful to the county.
Yeah, well, I definitely, however it goes, I would certainly want to be involved and be a part of the process, whether you Mr. Bischoff with Huddle or we do it together with HR, we'll figure it out.
Council Huddle?
Thank you. So, Clark Schroeder, the letter you have, does it already propose dates for meetings?
Yes, we have dates 19th, 20th, 27th, 28th, 29th. So they want to have
Are those of this month?
This month, yeah. So they want to get going. Whenever you do these contracts, you needed to negotiate in good faith. So you need to go forward. You can't just delay these things ad infinitum. And so we do need to, whether we make a decision about Mr. Bischoff or not, we do need to start this legwork, and we can bring him in and say, this is, you know, we need advice or something. I mean, I would think maybe John and I would probably work on this together.
I think for starters, probably a response to the union group to say that we have to get some information, bring it back to the board. I would anticipate you and I could gather some information from outside sources, cost, time, etc. But I don't know that we could, and then we would likely get board direction on the 20th. So I think we would respond timely to these folks and say, look, we have to get our ducks in a row, lack of a better, coin a phrase, and then after the 20th, we anticipate board direction. Just keep, just make sure we're corresponding and letting them, setting their expectations on timing. So I think a quick letter to them makes sense. Yep. And then between now and the next meeting, you and I can gather some information for the board to make
I can put some information out for the 20th, not you'll be making a decision during the workshop, but that you can give advice and let John and I know generally your thoughts concerning where we want to go with this.
Okay.
So we'll put it on the agenda for the 20th.
Definitely wanted to bring the letter requesting negotiations to the board to get some direction. So
How many individuals are involved in this new union?
I think 22. Yeah, somewhere in the 20s. It's primarily the road department.
Okay,
So
good enough.
That's all I have.
Well, does that give you enough direction to?
it does. We'll bring something back on the 20th.
Yeah, we'll bring something back.
And that's that'll. And then I think I'm next,
Yep.
and I just wanted to talk about it's on the court voice and the vehicle use. And so Commissioner Boyce at the budget hearing, made a declaration that he was going to take the keys to Traverse, and I believe he's done so. He's a man of his word, and I've talked to him about it. I've tried to explain that the board had a travel policy and that it had limitations on vehicle use and that kind of thing. By way of history, John Hitt also, when he was a county administrator, which, as Clark Schroeder mentioned, he put on the website the duties of the county administrator, which one is to enforce the rules. And so John Hitt wrote Court Boyce a letter saying, your vehicle use is exceeding this and doesn't meet that. Taking the keys for the vehicle is a sort of another step in that direction, and it might be a few other things, but it also, in my view, violates the policy. And so I wrote Commissioner Boyce in one of the last things I did as the acting interim county administrator, just kind of a second notice, I think you're still in violation, et cetera. And I've met with Court Boyce, and he says, listen, I disagree. I think and he'll be able to explain his position more fully, but I think his position is he's using county-owned vehicles to do county business, and that's his job more or less, and that the limitations are somehow interfering with his ability to do county business. If this, what my intention was, and so far the only discussions I've had with Commissioner Boyce, or even the board for that matter, is referring back to our policies, our travel policy, and then the general orders and ordinances that allow us to enforce our own rules. What I haven't done for either Commissioner Boyce or the board is go look at the legal landscape out there, because I think we're at the point where internally with our own rules and whatnot, we're sort of at an impasse. And so we'll need to probably get external, resources on this, or get an order more or less from a court. But what I would like to do is have the opportunity to present to both the board and Commissioner Boyce some kind of a legal memorandum that talks about the ins and outs of what are the, legal rules with respect to enforcement in general of county orders. My understanding, just looking at the statute for Oregon counties, for general law counties, is that the powers of the county are in the board, and 2 out of 3 of the board conducts county business and makes county laws. It takes 2 out of 3 of you to vote on something to make it official. And so based on, that's my general understanding, but what I'm trying to do now is look at the case law, if there's been any circumstances where other counties have experienced this, whether in this state or some other state, and just try to give all of you, including Commissioner Boyce, my objective legal advice. If at that time the board directs that some further action be taken, I don't know that I'd be able to represent the county against Commissioner Boyce as I see him, as I see each of you individually in your capacity as commissioners and collectively as commissioners as my clients. So I think I'd have a hard time going against Commissioner Boyce. So so what I would like to do is on the 20th present a memorandum, give the board a choice, see what happens then, and that way at least Commissioner Boyce would have some kind of and the board as well would have a legal landscape of this to help make their own decisions going forward. And if those decisions are to still be in this impasse, what the next steps would be, likely without me, likely at additional costs to the county, possibly outside legal counsel. And then the arguments are, why are we spending this money on legal counsel when that's more expensive than the vehicle use? Again, that would be a possible argument. But I think for me as the county council, the issue's bigger than just the vehicle use rule. It's all our rules and all the, everything we do. If our rule on the travel policy is invalid, what good are any of our other rules? So there is value besides just this issue with the vehicle use to getting some outside determination on this matter, which would help us going forward on all our matters. So really, that's all I had for now on this. I'm still working on it. It's a work in progress. I want to give a fair presentation of the legal analysis to the entire board, and then let you guys make the next steps. And I anticipate that coming back on the 20th. But as the administrator doing that function, I believe the administrator functions at that level have been done with respect to attempts to enforce, the county's rules. So that's really all I had on it. Just an update, really, more than anything. I don't have anything else to add unless there's questions.
Commissioner Huxley?
We received a letter, from you that you had dated
That was June 1st. I
1.
think that's the letter.
So
that
is that is a public record at this point, or entered into
Sure,
the
I
record?
think it is a public record. I haven't entered it into this record, but if anyone makes a public record request, they could have a copy of it. They could probably have a copy of the John Hitt letter. There's a possibility that the letters could be some type of a pending litigation exception, but I'm really not super clear on that. I'd have to look at a public record request, but I did not put the letter in the record. I just wanted to give a verbal report to the board today, and I imagine at the next meeting. And again, the other thing is, as the county council, I don't know that having an executive session on this topic would serve the public. I think just having an open discussion on this makes the most sense. But it's your choice on whether you want to address this in an executive session. But I just think just putting all the cards on the table makes the most sense in this circumstance. So,
go ahead.
So I have a question. If we were to have to seek other legal advice or help, could we use the Gallup and Bandon as that legal service that we're already paying?
Possibly not, because she stands in the same relationship to you individually and collectively as I do. Okay. I would think not Bruce Bischoff, but a Bruce Bischoff type, an outside person who doesn't have any contacts with the commissioners up to now.
We basically would split this particular operation up, where if we continue down this road, Mr. Huddle will eventually view you as the client, the commission, and I will work on the opposite side, working with outside counsel, as he would defend the commission.
I might not. I may have to not be able to pick any side. But
yeah.
What Mr. Schroeder's saying is, my conflicts come from my licensing and the rules regarding lawyers. Mr. Schroeder would still be able to follow majority board direction and be the county's executive administrative arm as far as enforcing the rules go. But he may need to be the one obtaining the outside counsel to assist him.
Commissioner Huxley?
Again, questions for county council at this point in regards to the letter on June 1. Then am I interpreting your comments that you prefer not to have this put into the record at this point?
I haven't done an analysis on whether it's matters of pending litigation or anything like that, so I have not put it in the record, and it's not my choice to do so. If there's no objection by the board or Commissioner Boyce, it could go in there. I had not ever seen John Hitt's letter either in any kind of a public record or forum, so I'm just, again, but I would anticipate, again, I said my philosophy would just put all the cards on the table. I don't know that it's any secret. Commissioner Boyce hasn't made it any secret of his position on this, I don't think, and we've had some open discussions, and we're agreeing to disagree, and for what it's worth. So when I put together the memo that I was talking about, I would also do the analysis on whether this is some kind of exemption. I would anticipate the letters being part of the memo in the 20th record, if that's...
So the question then, I'm just going to read part of the last paragraph, because you asked for return of the Traverse keys immediately. Have the keys been returned or not?
I don't have them, but this letter was written on the 1st. That was last Friday. I just got back yesterday. I wasn't even here Monday, and I don't think I've seen Commissioner Boyce until just now. So, but I don't have them. I've heard secondhand that there's not only are the Traverse keys not there, but other keys are accounted for. And again, that's an administrative function. I've stopped doing that too, so I'll leave that up to somebody else as well.
Okay. Commissioner Boyce?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, that's a good clarification, and I appreciate that. Welcome, Mr. Schroeder.
Thank you.
And Ms. Amos, we're going to miss you. And you mentioned very wisely the deliberation, the cooperation, and the negotiation, and that's something that I've tried over and over the year and a half I've been here. That doesn't release me of obligation to continue to try, of course. So I'm going to fiercely defend the interests of the people in the county and keep my oath and do the right thing. I have no objections to anything being added into the record, and in fact would prefer that, including to your question on the executive session, Council Huddle. I would also prefer that to be in the open and before the public. Of course, similar to our budget meetings. So, yeah, the Traverse has not left the parking lot since I took the keys. And I communicated to the Budget Committee and everybody here that that is a car that I want to keep in good, I don't want to put any miles on it. And I've asked the board to keep that in mind. That's why I've asked no other departments to use it, because I want to, my preference is to keep it for the next board and to take good care of it. And there's a dozen cars over there that are just sitting, which I've also made that point. So lately I have been using one of the little 12-year-old Tauruses, which are more than adequate, and that's what I'm doing the travel with. So that's all I have at this time, except that I did ask you, Council Huddle, on Friday morning by telephone, challenge you that for the good of the citizens, I felt like we could resolve this. And then a couple hours later, I got the letter, which I understand, and I still have that offer on the table as long as it's before the public. And so I think that's an opportunity, in my view. And this is a big issue, and there's a lot of related issues to it that I think need to be communicated to the citizens, and I also see that as an important responsibility.
Yeah,
Thank you again.
As I go forward, just to add on to that, Mr. Council Huddle had said that there were a couple other keys that are misplaced, is my understanding, but my goal is to develop more of a structure for all the cars, maybe have an individual calendar for each car so we know where they're at and who's taking them and what's going on with those cars, to collect some data to find out, are we using our cars efficiently? Are they just sitting there not being used? We don't have, I want to have good data, and then also schedule it so that people can look at schedules to say, yeah, there are cars available I can use. So I'll be looking into that. You may already have a good system, but I have not reviewed it yet.
Well,
Commissioner Boyce?
if I may add, we're sitting here with basically 3 weeks to go before the end of this fiscal year. And so I'm going to challenge the board not to prohibit me from doing additional challenge or additional travel. And also I'm not happy about paying out of my own pocket. So that should be part of the reasonable discussion to overcome this issue on this very diverse, very conflicting board. Doesn't mean the travel responsibilities and the county commissioner responsibilities, regardless of what your interpretation of the job description is, those duties and responsibilities do not stop, and they're important. And I know you know this. I just want the public to know. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Commissioner reports. Commissioner Boyce?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just going to read one paragraph from Commissioner Harvey, Baker County. I'm working on a lot more issues in the fire, but I'm so glad to see Emergency Management Coordinator Mr. DeMeyer here. Yes, fire season is starting, 2 weeks early this year. Our biggest concern, so Charles has me, I think, squared away here so I can I'm going to go to page. Oop. Charles, something happened here. Well, that doesn't matter. There we go. Above normal conditions for fire. One of my friends was researching this with me. He says, why in the world does the fire stop, or the fire fuel or risk level stop at the California-Oregon border? And folks, I have no idea. But it shows you where, to see that, even that intensity in eastern Oregon and Idaho, you know, yes, you can overstate it, you can sound like the sky is falling. This year, I don't think we're going to have a similar fire that we had last year, but we know it's coming very likely in the next 5 years. The fuel is just tremendous. And so, oh, excuse me, we're going to go back one. There's July, and then that gap closes in August. Northeastern Oregon, of course, that's mostly pine. And then September, that's what we got to hope for, and California joins us. And so you see, we had our fire management meeting last July 7th, a few days before the Chetco Bar fire was discovered, and we're going to do that again the 13th. And I think the biggest concern I have is California, and how that with the weather patterns we're having already, basically the unusual rain, the lower rain amounts that we had, that is an issue. And then I want to go real quick to Commissioner Huxley sometime back had a concern when I said that 80% of the Chetco Bar burn was affecting the Brookings Harbor watershed. I don't know what happened here, but there we go. Okay, of course, red means severe burn area. The yellow means moderate. Pale green is low, and green means didn't burn. So this is a satellite map, and for some of the management people to say that there's a lot of green in this Chetco watershed, of course I dispute that. This map would give evidence that that's not accurate.
What's the difference between dark green and light green?
Dark green means what did not burn during the fire, Madam Chair.
The light green?
Light green is low density, severity.
Okay.
In the red, it burns right down, as you know, within sometimes 18 inches underground.
Okay.
It destroys the healthy part of the soil, and that's why when we're asking for, in particular in the red area, for additional timber harvest, the concern that we're going to damage the soil, the very experienced foresters, they certainly dispute that. So 80% is accurate, and that was from the Bear team. And even if you look at the map here, you can see that it is right around between 75 and 85%. Another thing that this map reminds us is that because we've lost so much shade, the Chetco River is going to be very low this year. Less some summertime rains because the shade heats the ground, as you know, evaporates quicker. The runoff is less. I mean, that's just common science there. So that will affect the watershed. There again, there's the Brookings intake, and so I hope that we have some summer rains, which would make us all sleep better at night. But right now, you see what we're up against, and yes, these green areas we're hoping that they're protected, but we have a system here where there's literally millions of trees now that are kill-dried, and you see the perimeter of the fire here. Of course, here's Brookings, and so that's just slightly less than 5 miles from the perimeter of the outskirts of the east boundary of Brookings. So I want to go back to the beginning here real quick. Association of ONC Counties, in the wrong arrow here. To see how some of the, and certainly not all, but some of the there's one bad word there, I apologize, but somebody got their feelings pretty hurt. But this is the ONC Board of Directors, and this is a letter from Rocky McVeigh. I just want to read one line, if I may. Basically, Oregon Wilds was claiming that ONC was promoting logging old growth, and so Council for the Association of ONC Counties has a good answer. The line here I wanted to reference is this very dishonest report from Oregon Wild, and that's why we're only able to harvest 2.5%. Not this particular group, but groups that represent some of their same philosophical views and timber harvest views. And so yeah, we're going to be lucky to get 4,000 plus road salvage out of 178,000 acres. So this is to the two commissioners. I know both of these folks, Hubbardson and Martha Schrader, and I don't know what happened here.
There's a 125 on top. If you go to that toggle and shrink that down a little bit, you might get everything on there.
There we go. I think 100% is what you recommended. Thank you, Charles. So just want to read a couple paragraphs. This is from Kevin Davis, who is the Association of ONC County Legal Counsel. And you can read with me if you like. But thank you for providing the Association of ONC Counties the opportunity to respond to the false claims being made by Oregon Wild. AOCC has never engaged in alleged efforts to log old growth forest in wilderness areas and other specifically protected areas as claimed by Oregon Wild. In fact, AOCC's actions in connections with H.R. 2936 prove the opposite, and that's the bill that was in June, I think, of 2017, called the Westerman Bill, the Arkansas senator that really worked very hard and got it through the House, did not get through the Senate, the U.S. House, and unfortunately Peter DeFazio voted against it. I don't know how our senators would have voted, but this had tremendous support from the National Association of Counties. Of course, AOC, Representative Schrader, who is a Democrat from Portland. I'll make sure this gets on the county site, and we go to the bottom here, and this here, there's the NACO support, Congressman Schrader's support, Commissioner Tim Freeman, Douglas County Commissioner, and also served as a state rep representing Douglas County for 6 years, 3 terms, I think, and history on the bill. So that is all I have there. Fire meeting, second annual public awareness fire meeting, June 13th at the Brookings Library. That's all to be confirmed, but will be very soon. Yeah, I think that's, the letter from, from Commissioner Harvey. I'll just say this, and he's assuming that we all are together on this. So this also can be part of the public record, but I'll just read one small paragraph. I support your stance that the Forest Service must do far more in removing the damaged timber while there is still value for this product and create jobs in the process. Baker County, by the way, if I didn't mention that. Thank you for bringing the plight to all of our attention, and please send all your letters to everyone up the Forest Service chain of command all the way to Washington, all senators and representatives, state and national. Take your fight, and it is a fight, to anyone who could help or make a difference. This mismanagement must stop for the good of all of our communities. He's been a commissioner there for a long time. Super guy. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm next. I've got a short report, so I'm going to enter it in the record, so I'll give everybody a copy. Can you pass that down, please? I attended the South Coast Business Employment Corporation meeting. Just to give you an update on what they're doing, they're setting up a pilot program that will help needy seniors with their meds on a weekly basis, so there will be fewer hospital admissions due to too little or too much medication. I should have jumped the S. They're looking to make this service available in Curry County, which I think would be really good, because we've got some seniors that, due to dementia or whatever ailment they have, they can't take care of their medications adequately. Workforce training is continuing in Curry County through Quebec. They are continuing with senior transportation that goes from Brookings to Coos Bay, along with dial-a-ride for Coos County. Also, they started a health academy in Coos Bay to give medical training to those individuals who are getting a CNA license. Sorry about that. I interchanged the letters there. Okay, I also attended a solid waste committee meeting. I guess, as you will recall, the Beaver Hill facility was put together or built last year, and they are having monthly events for individuals to deliver their hazardous waste to that facility. And also, events will be taking place in Brookings, Gold Beach, Port Orford, and that will continue on a yearly basis, rotating between the three cities. And CTR is going to be handling the publicity for these events, and that's a really good chance for people to get rid of their hazardous waste that they have in their homes. So we'll be hearing more on that later. That's all I have.
I have no comments.
And Commissioner Huxley has none. So, hearing no further comments, this is a record. This meeting is adjourned at 11:12 a.m.